Now this video is going to be one of the most helpful videos that you could watch for helping you understand the planes of movement. And the planes of movement is something that crops up in our fitness instruction and personal training exams quite a bit, and it's quite a confusing subject. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce the three planes of movement. So the body basically moves in three planes. We have the first plane we refer to as the sagittal plane. We have the frontal plane, and we have the transverse plane. So whenever we do any kind of movement or exercise, we're doing that exercise in one of those three planes. And we might even, if it's a big movement, we might cross over one or two different planes. Now, why is that important? Well, that's because when we're training people, we want people to be effective and efficient in what they want to be effective and efficient in. And if their sport or their day-to-day activities occur in a specific plane, we want to make sure that we've trained them in that plane. Training is very, very specific, so your improvements are very specific to how you've been trained. So to make it as personal as possible, we need to learn what plane does somebody want to move in and how do we train them in it. So before this gets even more complicated, we're just going to break it down into three videos. One on the frontal plane, one on the sagittal plane, and one on the transverse plane. The frontal plane. So what's the frontal plane? Well, the frontal plane is any movement or exercise that occurs side to side. So if you can imagine, I've got a wall in front of me here, right against my nose, and I've got one right against my back. I can't move forward and I can't move back. I can't step forward. I can't hinge forward. I can't lift my arms forward. I can't step back. So all I can do is move sideways. So frontal plane, wall in front, wall behind. I can do lateral raises. I can do side bends. I can do sideways shuttles. I can do side lunges. I can do side squats. So think frontal plane, sideways movements. And that's your frontal plane. Sagittal plane. Now this sagittal plane is any movement that goes forward, backwards, up, down. So if you imagine I've got a wall directly down my side here. I've got another wall down this side. I can't move sideways at all. I can only move forward, back, up, down. So that would be a bicep curl. I could do a bicep curl if I've got a wall here and a wall here. I could do a front raise. I could do a deadlift. I can do a squat. I can do a lunge. So all those movements I can do in the sagittal plane. So that's your sagittal plane. Transverse plane. Now the transverse plane, if you imagine you can't go forwards, you can't go backwards, you can't go sideways, so all you can do is rotate. And any exercise that involves rotation is going to be in the transverse plane. So when you're doing your oblique curls, that's in the transverse plane. If I'm swinging a baseball bat, that's in the transverse plane. Russian twists, transverse, wood chops. All those movements are rotational and occur in the transverse plane.